What do you believe, but cannot prove? Around 1995 I was away in college. Broke up with a girlfriend and when she left she took the remote for the TV. I just figured I misplaced it. I moved back to my hometown a month later. Soon I bought a new TV and never thought about it again. About 4 years later we get back in contact. We were from the same geographic area. She drops by my new place for a coffee and after she leaves I can't find the remote for my now new TV. I search everywhere and in a crack under the back cushion on the couch I found the remote for the old TV. Never did find the remote I needed for the new TV. I'm sure she stole both of them and pulled the switcheroo years later. Now that's a long con. One of my best friends from middle school up and disappeared with his entire family. Seriously, there one day, totally empty house the next. No phone calls, no texts, no social media. I'm convinced the whole family was in witness protection. I sold my Nintendo Wii for a profit as a kid. My parents bought it for $250. I sold it for $400 so I made $400 since it wasn't my money. I showed my uncle the day I got paid. Next thing you know I check my money again that night because $400 was a lot for me and now it's only $200. I guess my uncle left me half which was generous. I can't prove this but he was arrested for breaking into a house and stealing some things so that leads me to believe that I was right. That my sister-in-law was fricking my brother's best friend while my brother was in the hospital fighting leukemia. My brother died and the best friend moved into sister-in-law's house 6 months later. Two pieces of crap deserve each other. Sorry about your bro. I won the lottery in 1999. I went to my local grocery store on the Saturday as I always did in the morning. I bought milk, coffee and tea bags for my boss. I walked to the counter and paid for everything and then handed the teller my ticket to check it in the machine. They beeped the ticket in the reader and literally jumped up and down shouting jackpot jackpot. Then the machine went grrrgrr Brett VVRMMM as it printed out a receipt. The teller instantly said ha 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 only joking and threw my ticket in the trash and they laughed the entire time. See, I would always joke with these guys about everyday stuff. I'm lighthearted and I try my best to make people's days better. Here's the thing that makes me know I won the jackpot. The machine doesn't make any noise when you beep read a loser. It doesn't print a receipt. It doesn't go grrrgrr Brett VVRMM. It's silent. So I just kinda laughed and said you got me and I didn't think through the process of the receipt printing, the noise or their reaction until I got back to my office. Then after a while I thought, I'll go back and get my ticket out of their trash. I'll make up a reason I need my ticket. I want to play the same numbers next week so I would like to copy it. Sounds reasonable, right? I went back and asked for the ticket. Everyone was flustered. But being me I just thought I caught them at the wrong time. So I just asked to look at the bin garbage and I'll get my ticket. There wasn't a single ticket in that bin garbage. There was trash from the same day but 0 lottery tickets. Me, being stupid, just went along with it, even though my alarm bells were ringing. The family that owned that grocery store for 20+ years were gone within a month and when I saw the teller, a family member, she was dressed in high-end designer clothes. 6 months later she literally ran away from me beat red. I won the lottery. I went to a Guns N' Roses aka Axl Rose concert during the Barrelhead days, around 2006 I think. Anyway, I'm about 99% sure that the singer on stage was not really Axl. I was such a huge fan so I'd seen them on this tour a couple times already. He looked like Axl and sounded like him but there was something off about it. Can't put my finger on it but I really think that it was a very good impersonator. I saw Cher in concert when I was a teen. In the middle of one of her songs a Cher impersonator came out to sing with her, then another, and another, and another. The stage was full of Cher impersonators and I was left wondering whether I ever saw the real Cher. Gonna sound crazy but, you know targeted ads? You talk about buying a new skateboard and you get ads for buying a skateboard? I swear I'm getting ads for crap I only thought about. Dude, this has happened to me and I can't explain it yet. Maybe it's roughly based on things that we unconsciously look up or scroll past and is loosely compiled and then thrown at us. I would be perfectly happy doing absolutely nothing productive for the rest of my life if I didn't have to worry about money. Yes and no. I'd need to do something but I think it would be to just experience as much as I can. travel, lean, see, do, teach. That some people wait around until they see someone sitting or parked by themselves and then go sit or park close to them. I don't know what their goal is, but it happens so many times there has to be something going on. This happens to me all the time. I purposely park far away from the store, usually within the last few rows, and I usually have plenty of empty spots on both sides of my car. Inevitably when I come back to my car there is someone parked in a spot right next to my car, even though there are lots of empty spaces in the same row. There is some culture on earth that has realized that denim is better for drying hands than both tissue paper and air dryers, and so has denim paper instead. Sir, I'd like to talk to you about a business proposition. My best friend was driven to suicide directly by my ex-girlfriend, his then girlfriend, as a way to get back at me. It worked. Jesus frick. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm physically disabled, and as my issues have worsened with time I've gone from directly working with patients to a desk job. Around the time COVID started, I finally had to request some gear to be able to do my job due to my issues. At my employer, this sort of thing comes out of the office budget. Recently I got an interview for another area, and it went really well. A short time after, a co-worker I vaguely know contacted me and asked me a lot of questions about my disability and the recent aid I needed to continue doing my job. I didn't think anything of it, as people get curious and ask me questions every so often. She did ask a lot of oddly in-depth questions about how our employer made changes for my disability. Time passes, and I hear nothing about the position. I contact the hiring manager, and whereas before she was friendly and open, she talks to me now like she has someone with a gun standing behind her and she's afraid to say the wrong thing. Eventually she tells me the position was filled, and she doesn't know why I wasn't told, even though she's the one who would do the notification. A few days later it's announced that the woman who was asking me all the questions got the job. I had no idea she was interviewing, and I suspect one of her higher up friends tipped her off I was her competition. From things that have happened since, I suspect she talked about me in the interview, and convinced the hiring manager hiring me would mean expenditures to account for my disability, and that being disabled I wouldn't be able to keep up with my work like non-disabled employees. But I can't prove any of it. This pissed me off. When my mom died, my dad and I basically lived in a stupor for nearly a full year, but then we both kind of agreed we needed to move on and we spent all of August and September cleaning and renovating our apartment from top to bottom, keeping things of hers that were important, and giving away, donating, tossing the rest. All of her clothes, makeup, perfume, we gave away or donated. I steam cleaned the floors and upholstery twice. We kills primed the walls and painted on them. Scrubbed and or painted anything that stood still long enough. We even got new curtains and blinds. It looked like a new place. It smelled like a new place. Christmas was big for my mom, and I have strong memories of her staying up all Christmas Eve baking and wrapping last minute gifts. We did not celebrate Christmas the year before. Both of us had barely even noticed it had passed. So the next year I stepped into the idea of taking up the traditions my mom had left behind, including the staying up late and finishing baking and wrapping. It was late, like 2 or 3 AM, and the whole apartment smelled like peppermint chocolate from the cookies I was making. And I went to get more tape from the desk next to where my mom's recliner used to be, and I got hit with the smell of her perfume so strongly, just how it smelled when it was on her a while, which was spicier and not as floral as it would be straight from the bottle. I swear I smelled the smoke of the herbal cigarettes she would buy herself a pack of for special occasions. It was so strong and so real, and when I got closer to the spot I swear I could almost feel her there, like I expected her and her chair to suddenly appear there in that spot. I just stood there for a few seconds, and then the smell was gone. I grabbed the tape and went back to wrapping, telling myself it was some kind of reaction to my first real holiday celebration with my mom. I told myself it was probably trapped in the carpet or in my mind. It's not real. I went and sniffed there multiple times a day for weeks. And finally I went and bought a steam cleaner and went over that spot multiple times, hoping that the steam would make that smell rise from the carpet, and I could call myself a big baby. But it didn't pull up anything but carpet cleaner and some cat hair. But to this freaking day I swear to whatever deity or lack thereof there is, She was there, or some part of her was. I can't prove it, or disprove it, and despite my real want to say it was just some sort of trick my mind played on me, because it'd be easier for me to accept that, I can't help but believe in it. It never happened again, and after living in it for 3 more Christmases we left that place 4 years ago, and as far as I know, no one has reported any smells or anything, so it was probably just my warped mind, but I still believe it was her. That's a beautiful story. In the near future an app or social media site will be created that essentially functions the way labor unions were meant to function. It will cause upheaval. Places like Walmart and manufacturers will suddenly have to deal with flash strikes. These companies will suddenly come up with an app that you have to use to see your schedule that definitely doesn't read info on your phone, such as which apps you have installed. Google Maps collects data on speeding driving habits and sells them to insurance or another private company, even with location off. There was that one guy who made a traffic jam just by walking with a wagon full of phones. Social media has made everything worse. I remember when the internet was just becoming a thing, and I thought it would be revolutionary. Everyone would have access, the accurate information would never be in the dark again. Instead, services like Facebook are designed to feed people's disillusions for extra clicks, and people fall for it hook, line and sinker. You're 100% right. I watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix and it hits all the nails on the head. I don't believe this, but I overheard a friend talking roughly 2 months ago about how everything was fine until we raided Area 51. Oh wow, for something that was a big news story about a year ago I had completely forgotten that whole thing. Tom Brady destroyed his cell phone during Deflategate not because of evidence that he conspired to deflate balls, but because he had evidence that his friend was cheating on his wife. That friend? Ben Affleck. Deflategate began on the 18th of January, 2015. The first stories about Affleck cheating broke in June of that year. Brady destroyed his phone in March, presumably when Affleck's relationship with the nanny was in full swing and would have been broken had messages or photos from his phone confirming the affair had leaked. When you think about the situation, it's extremely unlikely that Brady had damning evidence on his phone. If he knew he was cheating, there was no reason to be so foolish as to put in writing request to deflate balls when he could see equipment managers in person anytime he wanted. Conversely, if he wasn't cheating, there would be no reason to destroy his phone to conceal anything, although he might have understandably just wanted privacy. But what if instead, he had compromising material unrelated to Deflategate that he knew would get out of the notoriously leaky NFL league office? It could be anything, really, but it makes far more sense than Deflategate related explanations. In that context, it makes a ton of sense that it might be related to Affleck given the timing and their closeness. There are alien civilizations out there that are a million years ahead of us, a million years behind us, and everything in between. I once had proof, but that was a long time ago. Ex-best friend killed cats and mice. Wants to be a serial killer one day. It's terrifying, and since I'm no longer associate with them, I'm probably high up on the list for knowing. Add-on. Friend was serious about this. Wanted to use weapons made of molded ice so they'd melt away before being found on the scene. Add-on 2. The proof I had was that my friend had taken me to a pet shop, bought a mouse and said they were going to kill it. I didn't exactly believe them until a few days later when I received the head from them. I put it inside of a plastic glove, all I had at the time, and left it on my porch. Months later, I moved out and completely forgot the head there. Add-on 3. Partially copied from one of my responses because I'm getting ready for work. My friend also had a journal filled with their thoughts and such on having had killed cats, the mouse, and the feelings of desperation that came when they wanted to do something like this again. They had told me something along the lines of keeping their thoughts down and seeing where things go after having opened Pandora's box. Peas. Thank you for the upvotes. Beheaded people are alive some seconds after their heads are cut off. They just can't scream, no lungs, and are in too much pain and shock. Still, it wasn't the worst way to die hundreds years ago. I'd certainly rather be decapitated, instantly, of course, than be burned at the stake or torn apart by horses. Brain cells die within 5 minutes when oxygen gets cut off. I think even if the severed head was still alive right after the cut, it would receive the comfort of death far quicker than with other medieval executions. That phones listen to everything I say during the day, stuff I type on messaging apps, phone calls I make with people. I already know they track my online activity, but I had a very heated argument with a friend. We're both fresh IT grads, and he vehemently refused the fact that phones could listen while idle. I've tried doing a ton of research but nothing shows up. I've done experiments when I've taken a friend's phone and we had a casual conversation about stuff that I'm interested in and he's not, makeup, fashion, etc. And within 5 minutes, he opened Instagram and got ads for those very things. I really believe there's some big revelation coming in the tech industry within the next 5 years and it's not going to be pretty. The increased levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is somehow fricking with our brains and making us all go crazy. Read into symptoms of lead poisoning and the correlation in history when we use lead-based paint. Shoot's pretty scary. Lead makes people more violent. Dentist knows a way that would make sure that nobody would have cavities, but they are hiding it because they would lose a lot of money. It's 2020 and they are still treating cavities almost the same way, drill and patch, than when I was a kid in the 70s. I think postpartum depression is the human equivalent of when animals kill or eat their babies because they're too stressed or there aren't enough resources. No, seek help. Do not eat the baby. Despite denials by tech companies that conversations influence ads you see later in the day, some things have only been spoken and show up in ads same day. That this horrible girl stole my favorite shirt at my friend's 13th day party sleepover. It was that Hot Topic shirt that said, "Do not eat pink insulation, not cotton candy." It fit just right, you know? All smartphone companies slowly sabotage their older models when newer ones come out, so you are forced to get a new one. I feel like this one is provable. It's called planned obsolescence and Apple lost a court case over it recently. Kropotkin's theory of mutual aid, that as a social species we thrive off of cooperation, not competition. And competition actually makes us miserable because it goes against our most basic instincts of empathy to others. Heck, it's even compatible with Darwin's original theory, as fittest means best adapted to their environment and not destroying everyone else. I forget the exact words, but I think I remember hearing that in The Descent of Man he used the words love and cooperation far more than the word competition. I believe there are people alive right now who will live for a very, very, very long time, as in as long as they want. Life extension is a thing they're actually working on. There is serious scientific research in delaying and eventually stopping and reversing aging. I think within 100 years we will figure it out, maybe even by the end of this century. And there are definitely people alive now who will be alive in 100 years. No new tech required for that. Now, will we be able to make them live those years with their heads on straight, is the real question. That my mother hurt me physically on purpose. She was extremely verbally and emotionally abusive and I have PTSD because of it and significant memory loss due to my brain blocking out the trauma, according to my therapist. A while ago I remembered this one morning from 6th grade when, after a long screaming match about me getting up late, we drove about 5 minutes to church, and when I got out of the car she slammed the door on my finger. She always said it was an accident, but looking back I just have a bad feeling. I remember just wanting to get away from her even though I was crying BC. It hurt like heck and she was saying sorry and trying to comfort me. I had a dent in my finger and it was completely black and purple for months. Pretty much stayed that way until the nail grew all the way out, and I still get weirdly nervous closing car doors 10 years later. That this life is just another small part of something bigger, like a step in a road we can't see the end or destination to. Everyone has a place they belong. Not like, as in relationships or something, I mean physical place. Some people are born to walk soft beaches and touch the depths of the sea, and others are born for the mountains, the plains, the forest, the Arctic, etc. This seems uncontroversial at first, but I also believe it has little to nothing to do with your socialization, and you can be born raised in the wrong environment. It has something to do with our souls, I think, even though I don't know if I believe we have souls. For example, I never feel at home in the swampy, marshy, sandy lands I was born to and live on currently, despite it being almost the only home I've ever known. The air is too heavy and the sand burns my feet, and there's not enough life outside of the cesspools. This is exactly where my friend, who was also born here, feels most at peace, her feet among pine needles, her eyes on the crows, crawling through briars and planting any sort of plant she desires. My father hates the beach, but loves the mountains, and he was raised in rolling soft hills. My mom was raised in Michigan by the lakes, but she would rather be in the dense pine forests we live in now. My brother seeks out desert biomes. My little sister the deep river valleys. I have never felt more at home than in Ireland, but I feel like I'd feel even more at home in Iceland or Greenland or Newfoundland. Despite hating the cold, it's not about comfort of my body, it's about being where my bones want to be laid to rest. I want to die on a North Atlantic island and I happen to have been born in the southern US. No big deal. So I can't prove that humans have soul homes, but I believe it with all of my heart. That the Big Bang is caused by the collapse of a massive black hole, tons of black holes being absorbed into each other, and that we're not in the first iteration of the universe. I like this theory and there's probably some evidence to support it as well. Maybe there could be multiple universes all caused by this. Black holes each contain a universe. The creation of a black hole is its Big Bang and the matter it absorbs is what drives the expansion of its universe. I watched a documentary one time that suggested our solar system was inside a black hole already. That the universe is brimming with life, it's just so spectacularly huge that it's quite difficult to prove without inventing teleportation, aka traveling far faster than the speed of light. Aliens are actually humans from the distant future who are doing anthropological research. So yeah, aliens and time travel. I believe both exist. Actually, I've heard of this theory and like it. These aliens that are supposedly watching and researching us could be humans from the future. And also maybe they've influenced history for the better. School leads to horrific posture and nasty muscle imbalances. You're sitting in a desk hunched over, only using one arm to vigorously scribble crap out for 8 hours a day for like 14 years. During that time, your body should be getting exercise, developing naturally. Stress is one of our requirements to keep us healthy and sane. The universe will eventually stop expanding. All of the stars will die, then black holes will suck up everything else. Then the black holes will suck up each other until there is only one that contains all of the universe, which will then explode and make a new universe. Dracula is actually based on Jesus, not Vlad the Impaler. The similarities with Vlad end with staking. Jesus, however, has many attributes that are similar to Dracula vampires. 1. Jesus rose from the dead after 3 days. Most vampire laws have the transformation taking place in 3 days, or if they don't feed in 3 days they die. 2. Vampires are harmed by silver. Jesus was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. 3. The only religious symbol portrayed as causing harm is the crucifix, which is a device used to torture Jesus. 4. Vampires can be killed with a stake to the heart. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, he was injured by a pike puncturing his left side, near the heart. 5. During the Last Supper, Jesus said, "Drink this wine, for it is my blood," a direct reference to drinking blood. It's not proof, but it makes more sense that the things that would have affected a person in life would have some effect on them in death. That's pretty interesting. I've never heard that before. The Secret Service agent assigned to the walking detail outside the motorcade returned fire instinctively to Lee Harvey Oswald's sniper perch, and when the car sped up it clipped him and caused the infamous magic bullet wound. JFK was dead on first shot. Secret Service just tried to conjure up the pure chaos accident that would have ruined that service member's life. So all the cover-up was trying to save the name of one guy accidentally trying to save the president in split-second decision to start returning fire. Didn't think the motorcade driver would speed up and clip him. No big Russian mob sire crap. Just Secret Service covering up an honest frick-up that would have ruined that agent's life and damaged their service reputation. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.